can be hard to tell whether you're making progress in life or not. And I don't think it's so much based on the achievements you get or the things you accomplish, but it's more so, sorry about that, it's more so the lifestyle you live that I believe is a good indicator of whether you're making progress or not. And there's a few key points that I've found in my own life. Sorry again. First one being, if your interests are changing, and I'm not just talking about swapping bad habits for other bad habits, obviously, but if there's things that were maybe not so good for you in the past that is no longer appealing to you anymore, is a good sign you're making progress. For example, it could be something as simple as you not working out very often. That wasn't an interest for you. You weren't super into taking care of your body or anything. Maybe you like to drink a lot, do other drugs of sorts, and now those things aren't as appealing to you. Maybe you are more conscious about your health, and you are going to the gym, you are improving yourself, you're not drinking as often. Maybe you stop doing any drugs or like weed, stuff like that, you know what I mean? That's a good indicator that you're shifting your focus from something that didn't really serve you to things that in the long run are definitely going to improve not only your health, but like this can go for anything. It could be your habits. Maybe you spent a lot of screen time on your phone and you've replaced that with reading books, for example. Maybe now you're buying more books than you did a year or two ago. Maybe you weren't reading at all before. That's a positive interest, or a positive change in your interests that in the long run is just going to keep compounding. The second one I wanted to quickly touch on was something pretty simple, but it's just you always have a goal in mind of some sort. It doesn't need to be something super extravagant like I want to retire in my 30s or something like that. I know that's really early, but usually when people think of goals, they think of something that's super big, usually in the very long term, and they neglect the short-term goals that are actually the ones that help keep you motivated, are much easier to attain, and it's more sustainable to make progress to short-term goals like around like a year's length, something like that, even less than, is much easier than trying to think about what your life will be like in 10, 15, 20 years. And I'm not saying to not have any long-term goals, but I'm saying you gotta have a good balance of ones that can be readily achieved in the near future, because it's a lot easier to stay motivated when you have something close by you can actually look forward to achieving, something that's you can notice progress in the day-to-day. And a big indicator that you might not be making progress is if you don't have any goals at all, long-term or short-term. I, for example, was just going through my apprenticeship for a trade I'm in, and I always had that short-term goal of, it's 4 years, but I just achieved that. And now that I've accomplished that goal, I'm in the progress of finding a new goal in that same timeline, maybe even shorter. But that now I've accomplished something, it doesn't mean I'm just going to stop and not have a new goal to aim towards. And I think as long as you can not be content where you are and you always have something to aim towards, then you're going to be ahead of a lot of people that are they're kind of wandering around aimless, because when you have goals, you can set up tasks that push you towards that goal. I know some of them, for example, mine was, I can't just magically make time happen quicker to get those 4 years done and I can finish my apprenticeship, but it was still something I showed up towards every day. I was making progress towards every day I went to work. I was making progress towards that goal, and it helped get me motivated. And now that goal has been accomplished, I'm in the progress of looking for something new. And if you can do that same habit, where you always have something fresh, you always have something to aim towards, you're going to be in a good mood a lot of the time, and that's going to set you up. And you'll be reassured knowing that you're always making progress towards something, even if it's just the littlest thing you do every day. Those tiny successes are the ones that add up to be the biggest in the long run. So the third one's more of a mindset thing than anything, but it's equally as important as the previous 2 points. And you need to be content with the life you have now, but you need to know that you can be doing more. And I'm not trying to say this as some like hustle culture, like grind all the time thing, but if you just think about this for a moment, if you can't be happy with all the things you have right now, the people you have in your life, the things you have in your life, if you can't be content with it now compared to the majority of the world that has much less than you do, what makes you think that, say you do achieve the things you want in the future, the cars, the houses, all that typical stuff, what happens when you get that? I bet you if you can't be content with what you have now, you might be content with that new stuff, that new shiny stuff when you get it in the future, maybe for a few months, but I bet you pretty quickly you're just going to feel pretty empty inside because you don't know how to appreciate the things you have now. And that's important to making progression, because if you can't appreciate the present and what the future could bring, you're never gonna be happy. And that's the ultimate goal for everyone, right? Is to be happy with the lives they live, and being able to show gratitude for the things you have, and to look forward for the things you don't yet have. But it all comes back to needing to be present and appreciate what you have now, because I hear that all the time about people that have everything they could ever want, more money than they can ever spend, they can travel all the places they want to go, but they're always missing that one thing, and it just stems from not being able to appreciate the things they have, and they take them for granted almost. If you can rid yourself of that poor habit, it'll be a lot easier for you to appreciate every step of the journey you're on. And no matter where you're at, when you're at the beginning of where you want to be, halfway through, or you just accomplished some big goal, you can be happy the whole way throughout because all your basic needs are met, and life itself is a blessing, and we don't need all this extra stuff. Is it nice to have? Yeah, it is, but it all comes back to being able to appreciate what you have now. And that might not seem like it's related to progression, but trust me, it is, because if you get to that success point, that final step of your goal, whatever it may be, you will appreciate it for a moment, but it won't be very long until you're back to where you are now, probably not happy with the things you have, and you'll be looking for that next shiny object, and that's just a terrible infinite loop that you'll always be stuck on because you don't know how to appreciate the things you have. And yeah, I could go on about that, but you get what I mean. So think about that. Tie these into your life. Are you doing these? Are you not doing them? And just think how they could benefit you in your journey. And hopefully it helped a little bit. Thanks.